So we'll just start introducing while we set everything up. My name's Adam. This is Carolyn, Brian, and Scott. So I'm going to give each of them a quick little random word, and they are going to have to describe why I gave them this word, just as a little icebreaker for the show. So, Carolyn, your word is queen.
Oh, Jesus. So I'll give you the short version of the story. Not every country is recognized by the UN or other countries. Some are teeny tiny and not recognized. There's a lot of them, and one of them elected me queen, their queen, in 2011. And you know, when someone hands you a crown and says, "Please, will you wear this for us?" You go, "Okay," which I did. So now I'm the Queen of Ladonia. We have a Wikipedia page. You can look it up. So there's my answer.
Okay, Brian, yours is more of a phrase than a word. You have a passion for getting people addicted to smoking.
Yeah, so I cook a lot of barbecue. So a few months ago I was up to 12 smokers in my backyard. My wife told me it was about time to get rid of a few, so
I feel like you
I'm
have
down
a
to
problem.
8, and that's about a good number. So.
And Scott, he's not the type of person to just settle for one continent, so we just call him bicontinental.
Incontinent, what?
Bicontinental.
I've company's called Marketing Nomad, so we kind of named it after that. I've lived in Canada, Costa Rica, and then now I'm in Idaho. So we just kind of move around a lot.
So each of us have different strengths. Mine is in content link acquisition and monetization. Carolyn's big on massive sites, tech, and copy. Scott is a tech SEO, and Brian does a lot of different things. He's also an affiliate for many years. So we all have crossover, but we all have unique skills as well. And is everyone online?
Kind of.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep. So we sort of need to start pretty fast.
Sure.
The affiliate summit.
Oh. What's the password?
ASE 17.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry about this, everyone.
Sorry? Yes, please.
Here.
Okay.
Can you guys send that one up here too?
Come on.
Which one's the first one we're doing?
This one. You can just start in. If you got it.
Why don't you start introducing the...
Okay.
I don't even...
So, Enza's Bargains. Where are you? Hey, how are you doing today?
Great, how are you?
Good. So what are you hoping to get from this session, or what is your goal?
I would love to know which type of keywords I should use when I'm writing my posts, because a lot of times I don't feel like they're as specific, or if I get too specific, I don't get the search traffic I want.
Okay, so the question is, what types of keywords should you be thinking about with writing a blog post? Specifically like a deals blog post or savings blog post, or what's your main theme? What's your goal? Because I see a lot of random things here.
It's family entertainment.
Family.
Some people living, but mostly family entertainment.
Okay. Does anyone else want to start, or should I jump in?
Go ahead and jump in.
Okay, so when you're talking about family entertainment, the entertainment industry is very weak with their SEO. It's incredibly easy to beat them. And the thing you have to think about here is that the entertainment industry focuses on high-res images. They focus on lots of rich media with video and with sound and with music. All of these things kill page speed and site speed. Their branding teams don't allow for a lot of copy and text, and their tech teams are very loaded and wired. So are you familiar with schema, for example? Schema enables you to define what the specific section of a website or a post is about. And so if you're writing about a movie and doing a review, you can add in reviews. You can also add in the character that you're reviewing and talking about, and you can also talk about the type of media it is. By not using the high res that the main site's required to do, you can also get a faster load time and site speed time. As far as looking at which keyword you want to use, I would not focus on keyword, but I would focus on a query that's relevant. So you have Spider-Man Homecoming here. So a mom, for example, since you're writing, or a dad that's taking their kids, they want to know if it's age appropriate. They're not looking for Spider-Man Homecoming interviews or Spider-Man Homecoming press junkets. That's nothing relevant to them. There's going to be no search queries. What they're looking for potentially is Spider-Man Homecoming safe for my 7-year-old daughter? Will this be good and entertaining for my 13-year-old boy because the 10-year-old wants to see it? Or something like this. So try to process that type of thing. Instead of writing a review of the actual thing, provide a solution with it. So what is a dad or a mom or what is a babysitter going to think about and see if it's relevant for their kids? Or is this going to be a fun date night type of movie if you're not a parent blogger? You want to think about what the actual person looking or who the person you want to have find the post, and you write for them as opposed to writing a review or writing just something about the movie. You provide a solution for the audience you want. And at that point, now there's a reason for them to find it, there's a reason for the search engines to find it, and there's a reason for other people and other parents to share it on social media. So as far as keyword research, I would focus more on providing a solution for your intended audience. Does that help? Okay. Does anyone else want to start jumping in now?
Yeah, one thing I'd really work on, and this is something you're going to have to work on multiple fronts, is your page load speeds. GT Metrics, which is a really good tool on a 3G connection, had your entire your homepage loaded in 57 seconds. Your page size is 6.1 megs, which is just way high, and you had almost 1,000 requests that were going out. So your page speed score from Google is 0. You need to be as close to 100 as you can, and you're not even there. And your Y slow score is also a grade F, which is at 44%. Site speed is important, and it as an individual factor for SEO, it's not huge on its own, but when you combine it with everything else that you're doing, and when Google moving to mobile first indexing starting in 2018, if you're not fast, your competition, and if they are just going to kick your butt. It's just nothing about it. If it really takes 57 seconds for your page to load in, think about how much traffic is actually hitting your site, and then people are just leaving because they don't want to wait 57 seconds. 3G speed is what you should be testing at, because until 2020, still 70% of the world is going to be on a 3G connection. Can't think about what you're getting at home. You got to think that mobile devices are where it's at, and right now, 3G is the benchmark.
I would agree.
Carolyn?
I was just going to say, I would agree with everything Scott said. I would also, so as you're in the process of thinking mobile first, you're going to be designing for, everything needs to be designed for the way it looks on a cell phone, because Google's testing things as it appears in a smartphone. You need to be conscious of how long that page is going to scroll. No one's going to scroll to the end. They don't just, think about how many times you do this. How many times do you do this before you get tired of doing it? 2, 3 times maybe? So if you're going 6 and 7, no one's going to get that far down the page. You need to be conscious of how your menus look. You have a lot of stuff going on across the top of the menu. Things are going to get indexed and crawled as though everything, including, as though Google only sees the mobile version. They're no longer taking into account what they can find and what they can discover on the desktop version. So everything is seen through the eyes of mobile. Pare down your menus. Make sure you're leading the customer down the path you want to lead them to, but keep it to a reasonable number of options. Sometimes when people are presented with too many options, they choose none. So think about maybe the 5 most important links you need across the top, so that they don't have so many to choose from that it scrolls off the page, because it's hard to use those drop-down menus when you pop it open and it flies down past the bottom of your screen.
Brian, do you have anything?
So really a lot of it comes down to what they were saying with page speed and stuff. I was actually trying to dig into something, but now Google's blocking me from seeing or digging deeper. But you had kind of like with your paging scheme through the site, there's a whole bunch of like URLs that have a query string, like add click equals 4, and just a bunch of like look like tracked URLs that are being duplicated in Google's index. So you can get into Google Search Console and you can tell it to ignore those parameters. Come find me after this, and I'll kind of show you what I was looking at. But it looks like there's a bunch of like rabbit holes that Google's going down trying to crawl the site because of those.
Is that Webmaster Tools?
Yeah, Search Console. Well, it used to be called Webmaster Tools, but yeah.
You also need to make sure you update your plugins.
Yeah.
Because you're running Yoast SEO plugin, which is great, but you're on version 3.61 and they're now on 5.1.
So there's
and that's a big, big security issue.
Yeah, quick story.
I'm going to add on to what, sorry.
Oh, just real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Even if you have a plugin that you've deactivated, you have to delete it from your website if you are no longer using it. Old plugins that have not been updated or deactivated plugins that are never going to get updated that you stopped using a year ago are still vulnerable to
Hacking.
for hacking.
Yeah.
The Los Angeles Times had a book fair website. We had a plugin on it that was had a known huge security problem. So they deactivated it, but they left it in place. We got hacked anyway. It took down the entire server with 20 websites. It's super, super, super vital that if you are not using a plugin, you completely delete it and remove it from your server. Don't delete it and put it somewhere else. Effing annihilate it. It needs to be gone.
Yeah, if you're not
When I
a
told you
system-
Carolyn deals with large sites, she's, I believe, the executive director of SEO for Tribune Companies, Tronc. So she manages those gigantic newspaper sites with millions and millions of pages of copy.
The other thing as well, I mean, unless
She
you're a
deals with
system
big
tech or
data.
something like that, find hosting that's going to work really well for you. I really recommend WP Engine for the simple fact they're going to keep you up to date on most things, keep your WordPress core updated. The only good thing I saw with your WordPress setup is you're using the Genesis framework, which is awesome.
So
Even if it was by mistake, it was a good choice. But the rest just needs to be kept up.
I'm going to give you one more thing, and then we got to move on to the next site. You have a lot of duplication issues, and they can be fixed. This is going on to what Brian had. I was able to find more than 8,000 pages already indexed and that have a lot of duplication. You have canonical links set up, but they're pointing to the wrong pages. Instead of pointing to the original version of the content, it's not. And this is because your robots text and your canonicals aren't set up the right way. Your robots text is basically empty right now, and it's just a small little setting, and you can tell it, do not crawl this folder or do not crawl that folder. So right now, let me show you how to find it. Okay? You go in here and you just literally type robots.txt after. And here you have disallow your admin. But for WordPress sites, I disallow the uploads and I also disallow the contents because those are not part of the user experience. I also disallow tags, but sometimes I'll use an X robot. That's a bigger story. We're not going to go into that because we don't have time. And think about it this way. You probably don't have 8,000 unique posts in your site, but why do you have more than 8,000 pages that you want to have indexed as the primary page?
I probably have.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been 7.5 years of blogging,
Okay. So, but think about it this way. Not all of it's the stuff that you want to have indexed. And these pages are not being blocked. These folders are not being blocked. And as you create a tag and use a tag, for example, now you have multiple versions. So what you need to do is you need to go into that tag page for each of the tags and set the canonical links back to the original version of the post because that's the one with your best foot forward. And that's not being done right now.
Well, she's got Yoast. She could do the
and
canonicals
just
there.
yeah.
She's meeting
Use
with
Yoast.
Brian
She
after
doesn't-
this,
okay,
so she's good.
She doesn't have folders.
Yeah. There's a lot, but the
Yeah.
first thing is let's block some of these things that don't need to be indexed and don't need to be crawled. And if you're having Google crawl like your uploads or contents, it's not crawling the rest of your site. You're not showing it, here's the good content that we want to have. Don't waste your time on this. And it's just literally adding the slashes into that. It's a simple fix that all of us can help you with after this for free. Don't even worry. Cool. Okay,
Cannabis.
so
we're doing cannabis.
we're going to move on, and we're going to do Cannabis Radio next. So, who's Cannabis Radio?
Yeah, Frank, would you stand up and tell us about
Why don't you
yourself?
stand up?
Frank, what's your goal for this session?
Oh, I just want the boys and girls to check it out and see any errors that have been made.
Okay, Frank wants us to look through the site and look for any errors that have been made. Your first error is submitting your site to your friends.
Well, your first error is you're not on HTTPS yet. So there's that.
And your second error is that your website is auto-playing some of your radio podcasts, and that's just annoying as hell.
Yeah. And
Plus,
it's
you've got
actually really
pop-ups everywhere.
It's really slow too.
My listeners have started and I need it to be automatic.
Okay, well.
Okay, but Google's not stoned, and we have to realize that Google is also one of your users and considerably the largest user you probably have.
Thank you.
You know this already.
So I'm looking through your page titles, and there seems to be some inconsistency with how those are named. There's an
Press 4.2 as well.
inconsistent application of the brand name at the end. So that's something that we could automate and make a little bit more logical. But then I see things like Michigan Archives.
Ooh.
Michigan Archives of what? You know, I think that could be a little bit more descriptive to help you out, because you don't want people coming there looking for pure Michigan snowshoeing tours. You want them to come looking for information about Michigan cannabis criminal law.
So let's talk also about why your WordPress isn't updated either.
Ow, ooh.
4.2?
What happens, and a lot of people here are not fully aware, if you create a proprietary theme, a lot of times when you upgrade to a new version of WordPress, it breaks.
Not if you use a framework
And children theme.
and a child theme on
But-
top of it,
But how are you
which is what Genesis is, by the
how
way.
are you mitigating your security risks then, if you're putting yourself in a position where you know you can't keep up with the WordPress security releases?
Well, and then the next thing we should probably do is talk about your site speeds as well. On a 3G mobile, 29 seconds, 4.81 megs, 201 requests.
Because
not
there is
1,000, still.
amazing connectivity in the middle of the desert at a festival. So if that's where your users are, guess what? They're not getting your
If his
site or your
users-
podcast.
Well, no. If his users are in the middle of a desert already, they're already so big they're not going to be on the internet. Throwing that out there.
Are people like Russ Belville and Kyle Cushman popular and well-known and famous? Okay. Why aren't you focusing more on this? Like, it's under legislation and advocacy. Why not name that something that could have, like, what are they known for? What do they do?
Kyle Cushman is probably one of the top 3.
I learned this.
Yeah,
World Series of Pod or something like that?
yeah, Cannabis Cup.
Cannabis Cup.
Okay, so what are they actually known for or known for doing? Because right now you have the names, but what would people be searching for if they wanted to discover? So people that know him, they could go directly to him. People that want to hear specific interviews or facts from them, that's where you could jump in. Or what are they specifically known for? Like somebody that's searching the Google and yeah, I did that for you. So somebody that's searching the Google, they are looking for a solution for something. How can you use his influence and his name and recognition to actually add credibility to you and change the titles around and start that with the navigation and using the topics related to him that he talks about. And this is how you can develop some content that could be useful, build up a readership and base, and using your relationship with him and the content in unique podcasts that you've created.
Oh, yeah, no, I just...
So that's what you can do from a content standpoint to help increase that and make it a better experience.
Your navigation's kind of blowing up, by the way. So like when you're on a subpage, the legislation and advocacy link, the advocacy is like an inch further down the page than the nav.
Yeah, that's kind of with that 4.2 version of WordPress, probably.
Yeah. But I was going to say you should add some sort of intro text on these, like the legislation and advocacy page. Like add a block, link to some of the main sub pages from that block.
There's a lot of missing meta descriptions. Like, I stopped the sample size at 30% of the site, and I got 44% of the pages missing meta descriptions. I mean, that could be easy content to grab.
And I'm really surprised you guys don't have more links.
Yeah, what's up with that?
You got less links than bargains.
Okay, Frank, do you feel like you got something out of that?
Abuse? Did you get abuse?
I just wanted to get the appetite.
Okay. I feel used.
Yeah.
Find Frank at the party tonight if that's your thing. Okay. I think our next site is Home Gym R.
No. Glasses Gallery.
Glasses Gallery's next?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because we're probably out of order.
Okay, sorry about that. And I can't use this key. The mouse clicker up here is very awkward.
Oh.
So let me pull up Glasses
So who's
Gallery.
Glasses Gallery? Hi. So your pop-up on your home screen is going to kill your organic traffic with Google. More than likely, it's probably already affected you. This pop-up covers almost your entire screen completely.
Are you familiar with the new guidance on that?
As of January, interstitials and large pop-ups like this are considered to be intrusive
Super bad.
and super bad in Google's eyes. So kill that thing or just resize it. Google has guidelines that you can find on the blog, or I think it's Google blog, right?
They're really shooting for less than 25%
Yeah,
of
coverage.
of screen coverage, and that's on the mobile view. And it's very important that you do that on the mobile view, because something that covers what you think, you've got a big ass monitor at home, right? And you're like, that little ad's like this. On your mobile phone, it's the whole screen. So they're going to see that, and they're going to go, oh, this is the whole screen. I'm not going to index.
Do you remember how bad it
you
was
know?
with Yelp? You'd search for something and click on a Yelp result from your phone, and they would try to force you into their app. The entire reason Google did that is because of things like that. And of course, other stuff fell into it.
Do you have any suggestions on how to improve visibility for people to sign up? How to attract them to start signing up?
So at the newspaper, what we're doing is a delayed load of the interstitials. So you actually have to scroll down a certain percentage of the screen before it's going to pop up, and that's good.
So move it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's so far been successful in getting us around that.
Yeah, and just make it smaller. I mean, all you need is name and email for that. I mean, it does not have to be a large item.
Less intrusive.
Yeah, and the other thing as well is, I mean, unless you've got, UX or conversion data that supports the use of a slider, kill that as well. That just slows your page loads down, and to be honest, people are really annoyed by them. The only people that like sliders are website owners and designers.
Sliders are bad.
Okay.
Very bad, yeah. It's, people say, well, it doesn't cost, it takes more time to load in because it still has to load in. And designers love sliders because they think they're cool.
And they don't
Web
work-
guys love sliders, and web owners love sliders, but nobody else likes them.
They don't work right in mobile, generally.
Would you replace a slider with just a static image?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I wouldn't. I would actually replace the slider with navigation. So if you sell glasses, for example, glasses, contacts, sunglasses, or something else, and you leave like an extra container and leave that for promotions like Halloween contacts. If people are hitting your site, they need to know they're there for a reason. Help them find it. A giant static image doesn't do that. That talks about one specific thing. Having clear image-based with a keyword navigation not only helps you to build your internal links off your most important phrases, that's different than a keyword-rich backlink. And it helps people actually find their way into your site immediately, so you reduce the guesswork.
You could, since mobile first is going to look only at the mobile version, you could maybe take that advice for your mobile version and then still display the slider if you must to satisfy, your overlords. And the desktop version, because the desktop version is largely going to not really matter. You know what I mean?
What's your shopping cart?
Sorry?
Which shopping cart are you using?
Shopping, well, we built our own system.
Okay, you
we're
did.
doing it again in Magento 2 now. We just
Okay.
recently started building it again in Magento 2 Enterprise. So
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, because the URLs aren't being treated as case sensitive, and you're using mixed case, and then it's responding. Sometimes if you plug in a URL that shouldn't exist, it'll give her 200. Sometimes it's a 302.
you're completely right. I picked it up already a few weeks ago. We're trying to improve it now on the current version, but since we're rebuilding, it's
Right.
not really a focus at the moment.
Okay.
You also need...
And since you're rebuilding, I would highly recommend you either work with somebody or figure out a SEO migration strategy, because your URLs more than likely are not going to be the same from the 301s you're going to have to deal with, the content moves, things like that, or more than likely not going to work the same way, or the URL patterns won't be the same, so they're probably all going to change. If you don't do that, you lose everything you have built.
About 1% of your site is also 400 errors. And this is because you have a bunch of bad internal links. Someone left a bunch of random, weird, squiggly line code parameters into the text. So as Google finds these and crawls to these pages, that's generating 404 pages across your site.
How did you pick that up?
Easy. I use a bot. I'm crawling your servers right now.
Yeah, like Screaming Frog.
Yeah. I only got 0.32%.
That's what I have, but there's more. I'm looking as I actually dug in some more and typed in pages. I'm finding more lines of code that would lead to things.
And
Okay.
on speed as well, even though you're going to be changing over, I mean, your load time with this current site was 14.3 seconds.
And there's some
your
simple
homepage.
things you can do. Oh, sorry.
Are we going to use varnish
What?
on Magento 2 varnish?
Yeah, varnish will help speed things up, but it's not. That's not the end all to anything.
There's-
Site speed is, and I mean, as Adam's going to say right now, I mean, it's a combination of everything. So varnish helps, HTTP2 helps, your server hosting helps, your configuration of your database. How optimizes that? Are you using Apache or Nginx?
Well, and think about it like this. If you put that nitro gas that makes the dragsters go fast into a Yugo, it's still not going to go that fast. So there's some underlying structural issues that you have to do to make sure that your engine can handle the nitro that you're going to put into it, right? And there's a lot of fundamental things that you need to clean up on this site, not only to make it go fast, but just to make sure that you've got the foundation shored up. You've got pages with dumb page titles. You've got pages missing meta descriptions, and by missing I mean, or no, I'm sorry, they're not missing. They're really bad. 86% of your meta descriptions are duplicate.
Yeah.
86%, and I crawled your whole site. That's super bad.
How do you crawl the site and how do you figure those things out?
We're going to send you a list of tools that we use after. The one that 3 of the 4 of us just used was Screaming Frog. But you can also get this through other things. There's Deep Crawl, there's tons of them. A lot of us have discounts for these, so that's why the email after, I keep telling y'all, submit your site on your business card so we have your email address because you're going to get the discounts that we all get through our agencies
We'll
if you go
send
through
you an
us.
affiliate link.
Well, no, actually, some of them are an affiliate. Like, I don't have an affiliate link for Harifs.com, but I do have a custom deal because I mention them all the time. I think I have one for them. I think Tim gave me one. Anyways, you also have other instant wins. You've minified your CSS, but you have not minified your Java. You have a ton of images that aren't saved into the right file type or named. By doing all these changes, and you also have a lot of stuff that can be moved external, like things that load below the fold, you can move that externally and just keep above the fold internal. And that's going to help, especially with your mobile traffic, load the important things fast and quick so that your site experience becomes better. Okay, so there's different. Okay, can one of you explain it better than I can?
Okay, so internal
I'm really
JavaScript
bad
is
at
what's
that
called
one.
inline. And that means that your JavaScript is actually inline into your HTML when you view your source code, which you can, yeah, that's internal or inline. Externalizing it is effectively pulling that out of your own HTML and putting it into another file and calling it xxx.js and then referencing. Yeah, just like style sheets. The problem with that, though, as well, is sometimes inline is going to be faster for you, and it's going to be actually more efficient, versus sometimes externalizing it is. The problem with using external files like this, what people do, or devs do a lot of times, is the fact that they will include the one CSS file that has everything in it, which ideally seems really good idea at the time, but then you go to each single page on your site, and page A uses 7% of that CSS, and page B uses 6%. And then what you're doing is you're loading all of that in, same thing JavaScript or CSS, that doesn't actually need to be there. It takes more work and more effort, but as we're moving into an environment where site speed, especially for Google and for users, is becoming more and more important, just think short attention span theater. That's what everyone on the internet has, and if you don't get them like that, the chances that they go away and never come back increase significantly.
And for the minifying, Carolyn's going to cringe as I say this, so I'm not even going to look at her. It's basically taking the spaces and the extra little stuff that doesn't matter and condensing it into one big old page. Yeah, they'll do it for free and quick, and you just replace it. It's not going to be a huge win, but it's going to be a bunch of these little small ones can take a couple seconds off, and they're easy to do and they can be automated.
Well, that and
That
like
wouldn't make me
DNS
cringe.
DNS prefetch and connect.
Yeah.
I mean, we know sites that, you guys use it on yours, and we've seen like 65% increases in speed because there has too many external calls to too many sources.
Break as well when you do that. I noticed that on WordPress, especially when you use a plugin like BW Minifier or something.
Yeah, certain plugins suck.
Some plugins are bad, and not all plugins play nice with not all frameworks. So
You better keep the original handy somewhere else before you start deploying.
Yeah, that's why you need a staging environment.
Well, and you need a development environment. You
Yeah.
should have a duplicate version of your website that you do your testing on to make sure that stuff doesn't break. So depending on who your host is, some hosts make it really easy to set that up. Like WP Engine, I know we mentioned before, makes it really easy to set up a development environment. And you're going to need that to make sure that you don't accidentally break your site.
Cool. Do you think like you got enough out of this? Okay, cool.
Please
Then-
fix your meta descriptions.
Cool, so we're going to get rid of that one. And our next one is Home Gymmer.
Yes.
Okay, does everyone have it?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, who is Home Gymmer? Hi, how are you? What are you hoping to get from us? Monetization, SEO, content?
General feedback on SEO first, and then I have some specific questions later for Brad.
Okay, what are the later questions, just so we can try to tie everything in?
Well, for the Queen mentioned,
That was awesome.
Carolyn, do the wave now.
3,000 words per article, so lots of our content's really long.
Good grief.
It's Google likes, but I just wonder how you balance that with the idea of users not getting to scroll.
So it was balancing the length of content with user scroll time? Okay.
Well, so in a mobile environment, that's a lot of words for somebody to read on their phone. But I understand why you do it. And if you have enough, if your topics are legitimately meaty enough to warrant that much verbiage, you could realistically consider splitting them across pages. But just make sure, because I haven't read anything, make sure that all the content needs to be that long, because I've seen fluff written. I've seen things that should realistically be 1,000 words expanded into 5,000 because somebody was told that that was the word count they needed to hit. So if you're 100% positive that you have not done any of that and there's nothing that you can do to make those
Is that on any back or every
more dense, then maybe consider splitting it across pages. Just try to look at it from the user's perspective and what's a comfortable viewing environment for the user.
I'm not getting it.
So that's how I would balance that. As for your, your general SEO, one of the things I noticed right away when I was running a scan is that your URL structure is not siloed. So it's domain and then post title. That makes it difficult to do things like selectively block or throttle crawls in different categories. It makes it difficult for Google to know what category something exists in. It's not a URL structure that I normally recommend. I like to have a category in there just so that Google knows that this article about, the mating habits of Pikachu is in the Pokemon category,
Get that one right away.
not just the random category or the...
So Brian found something interesting.
you.
I'll let him cover.
So your exit intent pop-up is popping up on like every single article every time you load it. I'd probably dial that back because it would get annoying if I was a user and just wanted to hit the back button or
Or even if I wanted to go bookmark your site, I'm going to get
Yeah.
an exit thing. Your site speed is actually better than anybody we've seen so far. So you're at 8.1 seconds.
You're not on HTTPS, though, which you might want to look into. You are missing 30% of your meta descriptions. There's really no reason for that.
I have a perfect affiliate program for you after this. But before we would actually work with that, because you mentioned like kettlebells and all this other stuff, but you don't actually provide a resource to buy them. Then you show videos working out with the gear, but you don't say here's where to buy it. And you're not specifically reviewing that gear. So people that find it, that want to learn how to do their ab workouts or do this type of workout, you've now told them how, you've now told them what they need to do it, but you haven't showed them where to buy it. Instead, you're using randomly generated Amazon ads. So providing links to those specific things, that's what can actually help it and increase your potential sales. Now, there's an issue though. You're not using advertising disclosures. These are in-content links. So there should be a disclosure at the very top of the post that says you have an advertising relationship with the stores in this post. Something like that, just something to say that that these are ads. That will keep the merchant safe and potentially you safe, depending on how the laws and legislation change. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't give legal advice, but adding disclosures to the top is very important to do, because what happens if you take off and you hit Amazon's radar and all of a sudden you get kicked out and it takes 2 years to get back in? Now you don't have income from that, So it's important to be proactive now on that.
All right, so in addition to being one of the faster sites that we've seen, congratulations, your Yoast plugin is also up to date, which means things are generally up to date. Also, congratulations. Having the Yoast plugin means that, and the fact that you've got missing descriptions means that it's not completely configured. So all you have to do is go in and find the page type that those missing meta descriptions aren't on and drop in the variable for just excerpt. and that'll grab, the top paragraph off the page and slap that in as a meta description. It's better than nothing. Ideally, you'd want to write one for every page, but if you don't have time, and I understand that not everybody does, just using that variable can help out a lot. So go take a look at your Yoast plugin and just make sure that you've got all of the content types properly configured and set up to at least default to something.
Did you hire an SEO firm in August of last year? Who started doing your link building?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, pull the profile.
This is a site that I purchased 5 months ago, so
Ah.
the original creator of the site did his thumbs out.
Yeah, they hired basically an Indian or Pakistani link builder. You have a wonderful amount of backlinks. Let me read some of the names off for you. I'm not going to say anything perverse, but your site's associated with Viagra and Cialis. So you have a site called fametextile.ru as one of your top backlinks. Raycon, bbetsy.info. None of these are going to be relevant for you, especially the submission and link directories that you're submitted into.
Keyword-suggestion.com.
Yeah. Louisen, pickphotos.com. Lots of stuff that's not, a lot of European and country-based ones like .nl. Then there's some that could be real, but I'm pretty sure if we type them in, it's going to be someone that set up a fake account, scraped a bunch of copy, and threw it in, like serendipitymommy.com. That doesn't sound like it would actually be, it's real? It's ranked very low here, so it might be a misspelling of it. And because it's the way it's ranked and the things that are pointing in and out of that site, it's probably a misspelling of Serendipity Mom trying to pretend to be her for that exact thing. So you may want to go through and pull. Luckily, there's not that many backlinks. And you could start to clean those out with a disavow sheet because you don't want that association in that crappy link neighborhood pointing at you.
There's some other basic SEO kind of fundamental things that we could clean up. It's not, I don't see anything that's horrid.
No. Not either.
So when we send you the recap, there'll be some recommendations there. You might want to have somebody run an audit and there's going to be some minor cleanup. I think your biggest thing is you're going to want to go through and make sure that you've got Yoast all the way configured to clean up some of the gaps that you've got. And you do want to consider moving to HTTPS. Depending on how many backlinks you have, I might think about changing the URL structure just so that it's siloed a little bit because it's not right now. But that would be something that someone would have to evaluate in greater depth to make sure that they're not causing more damage than they are.
I'll do that with you because there's I just cut you off, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Because if you join one of my clients' programs, it's a perfect fit. Like, I looked through some of your other copy down here. But basically, when we add in the different category sections, when you go into your Google Analytics and you do your traffic sorting, you can just type in the name of the folder. So if you have one for CrossFit, one for running, one for this, you can now look, is the traffic coming in here? What's the audience breakdown by here? And now you can match the merchants and the vendors to the actual audience based on what's engaging and coming through that. And then you can also see which type of traffic it is. If it's Pinterest traffic, you're going to want to go a bit more image heavy, like with beautiful images that are also vertical versus a Facebook traffic, which would be landscapes. And, there's different things. So by going into the categorical structure, if that's not going to destroy your SEO, you can better target the audience, better target your affiliate ads and your affiliate links. Because if it turns out to be wealthy people, they're not going to want to shop. Well, they might, but the chances are they want to go to Lululemon versus a thrift store, and for their gear. And so we could actually tweak it by category in the ads through to help match it to who's actually there and reading. And that's another added benefit by going a little bit geekier into it and using your categories. You can literally just type in your yoga then as the folder and sort all of the yoga pages and then analyze the information from there and monetize off of data instead of guesses. Cool. Do you think that this helped you? Are you good? Okay.
I was going to say one thing.
Yeah, go for it.
So it looks like your review pages, are those set up as a custom post where you go in and you create a review instead of an actual post?
I didn't think so. I thought they were normal.
Because there's no schema markup on those pages, and I would definitely add that to those.
Whose site redirected us to Carrington.com? Because I had a site typed in, and somehow
Yeah, no, it is. It is.
It is.
It is Carrington.com?
Yeah.
Whose
Okay.
site's that?
Okay, I think that's our next one.
Carolyn, please start in.
Don't we want him to stand up and tell us what he's trying to
Yes.
learn?
So how can we help you today? What are you trying to get from this? Monetization, SEO? Okay. How do I spell?
What?
I just need to know how to spell.
Oh, Care, like Care Bear.
So
I
yeah, go
was
ahead.
going to start. So when I typed in your URL, it actually it returned a 200, which means, okay, I found it, but then it did a meta redirect to www.carrington.com/index.aspx. So on the upside, it's HTTPS. On the downside, you got a bad redirect going on, because what's happening is any backlinks you get to the website that you publish on your business card are not being credited to the actual homepage that you've got, which is going to diminish the authority and its ability to rank. So you understand how the dividing the link equity thing works, right? Okay. You're going to want to get that load balancer redirect fixed pronto, because that popped up first thing and it's an issue.
Yeah.
First thing hitting their page is, I didn't actually know there was a product or service here. I thought this was like a random landing page or something that didn't actually do anything. I see find your Carrington discount plan.
Discount what?
Yeah, you're not selling anything. I don't care about Carrington. By looking through a little bit, I saw that you have dental plans. So why not change it to like dental discount plans that meet your personal needs in your neighborhood with your local doctors? Take it out of the me, and the I and we, and actually say what you do. If somebody's going to hit this page and you don't say that you're a dental service plans provider, why are they going to give you their location and trust you? And if they don't know who Carrington is, like if you get organic traffic coming in that's not familiar with your brand, it's not going to matter. What they're there for is dental plans and discount plans. And that's what you should be telling them immediately when they hit the page.
Well, and find your Carrington discount plan is the first H1 on the homepage. So Google's going to look at that, and they don't see the pretty pictures. They have no surrounding context. They're looking at everything in a vacuum. And what they understand is that this page is about finding a Carrington discount plan. They don't know that it's a dental discount plan. You literally have to be kind of ham-fisted and tell them specifically what it is that you do. So there's no question in anyone's mind when they read that first H1, they know what you're about.
There's also your title tag. It's Carrington, official site. That's pretty obvious as people click through. Instead, you could start with like Carrington dental discount plans that like, and make it about them again, affordable or something like that. It's going to make them want to actually click through and come to your site. For
Even
your
if you
homepage,
flipped
it's
it
fine.
around.
Yeah.
You know, dental
So-
discount plans, I wouldn't say and more. And more what? You know, got to be a little bit more specific than that. So dental discount plans and something else, pipe, Carrington official site. I mean, that'd be sufficient.
Should be.
Do you guys manage this yourself, or do you have an agency that manages your technical systems IT?
It's all in-house.
Okay. First thing is, I see that you can sign in and stuff like that, and that's great and everything for ISS. But more than likely, it's Microsoft server configuration that's causing you all of these issues right now, especially with SEO. So I would, if I were you and I was consulting with you, I'd probably say disconnect them at minimal, or have somebody spend money and effort and time fixing this, because you've got a lot of technical issues that are just hindering your ability to grow. And the thing is, they're relatively not challenging to do. But that being said, it depends on how your structure is set up, everything. If you guys are managing this in-house, your IT guy needs to understand that, again, SEO or Google, that's your biggest user out there. And if he doesn't start developing and programming and setting up his configurations for that, then it's just going to cost you money, or it costs you the ability to make money anyway. One other thing as well, you've got a Spanish site, which is great. We do a lot of like Spanish marketing, especially for Latin American stuff, but you're missing your language tags. You need to get those in there. And basically, it's a one-to-one language tag reference as close as you possibly can from the English version pointing over to the Spanish version, from the Spanish version pointing to the English version. Those actually work really well with multi-language sites. And since you're targeting it, that's actually a primary strategy to go for.
Another thing to just double check as they implement that is a lot of tech people will take the shorter route and just type in like ES. But really, they could actually do the language dash in the country focus basic on it. And that's going to help you a bit more because English in the US is very much different than English in the UK and in Australia. Just like Spanish changes pretty substantially. So if you're able to localize the content, you want to use the proper country coding with the localization.
Okay.
So a couple things that I noticed. So your site's responding with the www. It responds to HTTPS requests and HTTP requests. If I set it to respond or to HTTPS, it's telling my browser's outdated and that I should download Chrome, even though I am using Chrome to access the site. So, and this page that I'm on is the page that has a form, and Google's going to start flagging pretty much anything that has a form on it if it's not switched to HTTPS. So.
And mixed environments as well.
Yeah. You've got it responding under multiple protocol. You've got it responding under multiple subdomains. So definitely I would get that cleaned up and then figure out why when I'm accessing this provider search page, it's telling me I'm on an outdated browser even though I'm using Chrome and it says to use Chrome.
What kind of traffic do you get monthly?
On this side, I honestly don't know. I'm a sales guy. I'm a marketing guy. I was supposed to be in here. He kind of backed out for something else.
He should probably get reprimanded for that one. He should have been here. No, I was just curious because you're load balancing, and I'm looking at your traffic, and it's hard for me to tell because I'm using external tools, of course, but I'm not even quite sure why you have load balancing. I mean, it might not even be something you need, which
Because it makes the tech guy happy.
Yeah.
yeah, it's load balance because I'm hitting dub. Brian's able to hit dub. Which means that something at the server level is balancing it across multiple server environments or virtual private networks or whatever that is, however that setup's being run. It's basically to help traffic so it's all fast.
Does that have anything to do with our PCI compliance?
PCI compliance doesn't
No.
require load balancers. PCI compliance just requires that you have specific security protocols in place to make sure that it's safe. But a load balancer is not one of those.
Yeah. And considering you're on a load balancer, your homepage took 14.1 seconds to load in.
So I think one of your tech guys probably needs to be reprimanded as well.
Just a talking
Carolyn,
to.
what's the difference between a peasant and a pheasant?
Will we shoot pheasants? Oh, wait, they used to shoot peasants, too.
Pheasants are hung and peasants are hanged.
Use that theory as you talk to your tech guy.
I double check and make sure that you actually are PCI compliant because your server gives off a lot of signals that it's not supposed to, like as far as versions of .NET that you're using and things like that.
And then just real quick, because I sense that we're getting ready to move on, you're going to need to clean up your SEO fundamentals. I mean, just looking through at your meta descriptions, right? Your site is missing 41% of its meta descriptions. I mean, that's almost half. Of the ones that you have, 31% are duplicate. So, I mean, you got a lot of basics that you could clean up.
State of stuff.
Okay, guys, we have time for exactly one more, or we can go into questions. Which would you guys prefer? We can pull up one last site. We have about 5 sitting here, or we can do a Q&A. Q&A? Okay, if anyone else wants us to review or you want the list of tools, please bring your card up to me right now or afterwards, and we will send you an email. Everyone on the panel will be CC'd or BCC'd on it, and that way you can respond back to any of us, whoever you like the most or wanted to talk to the most or hated the most. And, oh, I forgot. Sean and Missy asked if we can ask you guys to leave feedback. Whether you liked us or not, please just be honest. Of course, we'd like good feedback if you want to after the session. So let's do some Q&A. Who has a question? Yes, sir.
So for the hosting, what do you recommend?
Thank you. For hosting,
WordPress hosting, what do you recommend?
for WordPress hosting, who would I recommend? I personally use WP Engine, who's here at the show. Ask for Dave Vogelpaul or Dustin Howes. But everyone has their own preference. The only company I won't recommend is A Small Orange. So that's the only one I will always say I never recommend for any reason.
So
Yeah.
we have some sites on WP Engine. I also have been, and I know a lot of people have issues with it, but I've had accounts on DreamHost for 15 years, I think, something ridiculous like that. And for cheap hosting, it's pretty good. And I also like the fact that I can use WordFence. WP Engine has certain security plugins that they don't like, and WordFence happens to be one of them. I happen to kind of like WordFence because it's allowed on DreamHost, and I like getting that feedback on what it's blocking and what it's protecting me from. But it's a personal choice. We do have a ton of sites in WP Engine, so I mean,
Cheap hosting, in my opinion, which used to be fine until WordPress just went haywire with plugins and getting hacked. I mean, I've been hacked 5 times in the last 10 years. I'm tired of it. WP Engine is going to take care of that for me. So that's why I recommend them.
Another one for cheap, and this is going to cause some groans, is GoDaddy. I have my sites on there that I don't care about, and they've been sitting there, and GoDaddy does a great job, and the support's been awesome for it.
He doesn't care about them. So
he's
they're
been
there.
drinking, so I don't think you should listen to him.
Well, so
It is after 3 a.m.
So I'm not a fan.
That's actually a joke because I get up, well, right now I'm recovering from an injury, but I'm up at 4 a.m. every day emailing these guys and stuff. She was just in Germany with me for a week. And so literally I'm up at 3 checking email, hitting 0, like, woo, and like singing and dancing and drinking coffee. And by 4 a.m. I'm out running. And they're like, what the hell? This guy's insane. So somewhat of a truth on this. They're like, Adam, you're on vacation. Go to the bar.
So I'm not necessarily a fan of GoDaddy, but they are investing a lot of money into the WordPress space, and they're buying up a lot of like providers of services related to WordPress, and they are getting a lot better environment for hosting. Yeah.
It's not
Yeah, but
perfect, but
better-
for a
better
cheap
than
host
you-
with good support.
Yeah, but it's like saying
Yeah, but you're
it's
the
like
one that
saying
wanted.
the hot dog is slightly better than the spam.
Anyway, that's
But you
enough
were-
on hosting,
you were,
kids.
You were touting DreamHost, so you
I
don't.
like they've been nice to me, and they don't.
Okay,
harass
before
me.
we get into a hosting fight, because my host's better than yours.
Whatever.
As long as it's not HostGator.
Who has another question? Yes, sir.
How do you keep up with when Google changes their algorithm?
The question is, how do you keep up when Google changes their algorithm? You don't
Lots
hire a
and
shit
lots.
SEO firm.
Lots and lots of
It's really simple. Don't do stupid things. Don't take shortcuts. Build good sites. Create good content that provides solutions. Minify your images. Make sure your code is clean. You clear your site regularly. You make sure your sitemap even doesn't have 404 pages. You're not pointing internal links to 301 redirects or any 3xx redirect. I just found a site that had over 1,000 307s. Like, keep your stuff clean. Don't use bad techniques. Keep track of any new backlinks that are coming in. And if you get a bunch of spammy ones, start disavowing. You keep that, you don't have to worry about algorithm updates. I had a couple of clients that got hit all the time. Now every time it updates, they get a win. And so every time we see like the fluctuations in Search Console where like there's the big triggers and people worry, we all get excited because they've been rewarded on every single one of the recent ones. Like Fred, that was a big one. We're now 100% over where we expected to be. So don't do stupid stuff. Keep it clean. Use good strategies. If someone's doing bad stuff against you, figure out who and stop it. And just make sure you're constantly keeping stuff clean. You guys?
Well, and if you're wanting to follow, like, because sometimes there's technical rollouts, like as far as schema and things like that, that you'd still want to follow. Google's Webmaster Blog is pretty good for that. They typically announce, make announcements if there's anything big that rolls out, like outside of the scope of even just like normal updates. Like they're constantly telling people, hey, we're rolling this out. Like with the interstitial ad issue,
Yeah, they gave a year at least.
there was a ton of posts on there as far as what they expected, and they showed examples, and I mean that was a good spot to follow that. So
I mean, you just kind of have to stay on top of it. I mean, I spend a lot of time researching, and I mean, I work with hundreds of sites, so we've got data from those sites that, you know, we anonymize and then compile together and then can look for trends. And then I also talk to other SEOs. I mean, Google's a black box. I mean, I've been doing SEO for 20 years now, and I still ask for other people's opinions.
Scott used to, the thing that you told me, Scott said that if you're shoring up all your fundamentals and you're staying clean, like Adam said, you'll be algorithmically immune. And that's what you want to be. You want to make sure that...
Don't chase the dragon.
Is that like a
No
heroin reference?
fen.
Train spot.
Is there a good rule of
The biggest
Small
you
as you
ever
can get
want
away.
is 100 kilobytes
No, there's
at
no
the
number,
most,
really.
but no.
I mean, it really, just get them as small as you can get them.
And with images, keep track, use MouseFlow or Hotjar or something like that, and see what people are actually using, if they're even engaging, and try testing to see if they even, maybe they are engaging with it, but it doesn't actually impact your sales process and flow and funnel. So by pulling those out, even though they're being engaged with, you can actually increase or you can decrease the load time, increase the site speed, and still the same amount of sales.
You know, before we go, one thing I wanted to mention to everyone, as you're planning for the mobile first index and you're looking at your mobile website, when you start trimming it down to make your desktop site look good on mobile, make sure that things that you cannot see on mobile are not actually still being served to the mobile phone. Because sometimes what the developers do is they'll say, oh, it's not there anymore, see? And just because it's not showing up doesn't mean the server isn't pushing that data to that phone, and that phone still has to ingest it. It's just not displaying it. So you're pushing data, unnecessary data, which makes the speed slower, to a device that can't use the data anyway. So make sure that your developers know what they're doing when it comes to mobile and are only giving the mobile device the exact amount of data it needs to accomplish the goal. Does that make sense?
Also, Gary said that it's okay to use accordions. Gary Ilyas from Google. Be cautious in interpreting that. You don't want to have a ton of copy hiding under an and more and have that just be like a little plus sign hidden somewhere in the top of a site.
Well, when Google says stuff, though, you have to like Clintonianly dissect what they say.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen with a lot of the tech people. We need to be more specific and give the warning that, yes,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean you can just put a little plus sign somewhere and have all the copy expand. It means it still has to be clear. You click here if you'd like to read more, not just hiding it for copy and mobile experience.
For every one piece of information Google gives out that's accurate, in my opinion, they give out 100 pieces of misinformation.
So we're actually 3 minutes over already. Are they quick, the two?
It was a follow-up question on mobile. Looking at responsive websites versus mobile dedicated mobile.
Yeah, stay away from the second.
What's the take on that?
Stay away from the
Responsive.
second. Don't go to a dedicated mobile site. Either go responsive or adaptive. Adaptive is what will get you out of that responsive nightmare of loading extra crap in 3 or 4 times.
And if you go to Progressive Web App, I want to talk to you. Yeah.
No, not really.
Absolutely not.
Yes. Yes, it pretty much is. Yes, but you can't do everything the same way you
What do you
can
mean?
on your own site. And you should, of all people, should know that, Mr.
Wait till-
Johnson.
I feel like you guys are having a side conversation here.
Yeah.